Welcome to the Wedding Weeds podcast. Your host is Tracy Morris, award-winning certified wedding planner at her company, You're the Bride. Tracy has over 2 decades of wedding industry experience. She is a mentor, blogger, and influencer, and she shares real stories, tips, and advice with couples who are tying the knot. Tracy's team helps busy, engaged couples maneuver big and small details so that they can enjoy their wedding experience instead of getting lost in the details, which is much like getting lost in the weeds. Enjoy this episode.
Hi, friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Wedding Weeds podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Morris, and today I'm going to be talking about the roles of wedding planners and vendors, aka your wedding dream team. I absolutely love working with our amazing vendors that I get to work with, and you know who you are. You are the ones who collaborate, communicate, and go the extra mile to make sure that our mutual clients have the best day ever. You're the reason that I continue to refer you again and again. But there are some weeds in the industry that keep sprouting up. You get it, weeds as in wedding weeds, haha. Okay, so it's time that we're going to talk about them. So vendors, consider this a little bit of tough love today, but I promise you it is helpful advice, okay, that it's going to make all of our lives easier, including your clients. So today I have invited 2 of my wedding planner friends to join me as they too have experienced this in their many years of business too. So they're going to be here today to talk about it. First of all, we have my friend Lorna Marshall from Posh and Prim. Hello, Lorna. Thank you for coming to the Wedding
Hi.
Week show. Great. Yes,
Thank you for the invitation.
you are so welcome. And then we also have Adele Weimer from Everlasting Engagements. Hi, Adele.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. Welcome to the show, ladies, and I really appreciate your time tonight. All right. So, as wedding planners, our role is to plan, manage, and execute timelines. Of course, there's many other things that we do besides that. But we are not here to do everybody else's job, okay? When vendors push their responsibilities on planners, it creates a lot of extra stress, miscommunication, and resentment, okay? And none of us want that to happen, and that pushes some, issues on the couple. So let's get started today. So one of the big things that happens that I see a lot is missing information on wedding vendor contracts, okay? I often get contracts that don't even have a phone number on them or an email. And it's like, we need to do this job to do, we need to have that information to do our job effectively. It's like, why am I doing a search and rescue mission to go try to find a darn phone number, right? It's crazy. Yeah, we need to locate you, vendor phone calls. I do my vendor phone calls like on Mondays. Do you ladies do like your vendor contacts, to follow up the week of the wedding to kind of make sure everything's in place? That's when I do it. Do you do that on
Yeah,
Mondays?
within a week, about
Yeah.
7 to 10 days before.
Yeah. I know Adele's doing. I'm like, this seems like even earlier.
Yeah, my actual vendor contact is once my couple is booked, I'm
Hmm.
reaching out to them within like 5 to 7 days and letting them know that I'm on board.
Yeah.
Looking forward to working with you.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it is
Yeah.
a lot earlier.
Yeah. Have you ran into that issue where you're not seeing information? Because I have. I mean, not a ton, but enough to annoy me that I'm like Googling and trying to figure out how do I find these people.
Yeah, actually, no, I have not ran into that.
Okay.
And I think the reason why, one, I'm collaborating with them a lot earlier, but
Hmm.
two, um, when it like in my 90-day mark, if it was just a day of,
Yeah.
or even a full planning, it really doesn't matter what package you've chose. At 90
Yeah.
days out, I'm sending questionnaires out. So I'm gathering all of your vendor information, which is one
Hmm.
of the questionnaires that my couples have to fill out,
Right.
which gives me, and it requests, email, phone number,
Hmm.
name, what are they providing for you?
Yeah.
But long before that, I've reached out to them to confirm what the services were, how
Hmm.
long the services were. So I no, that's never happened to
Yeah.
me where I didn't have a vendor's number.
That's interesting. Yeah, because
or email actually.
really, I mean, it doesn't happen a ton, but it
Mhm.
has happened for me, and I'm just like, well, that is so weird that, because I'll ask my clients to upload it to the portal, and then I get it, and their phone number is not even on it. I'm like, that is so strange. So then
Mhm.
I'll email the bride and be like, well, how did you even get in touch with them? So, and then I can figure it out, but sometimes I'm like searching and I don't want to bother the bride. So then I'm like Googling and then I'll find it. Or sometimes it's an old phone number and it just seems weird. So to me, it just seems like it's a red flag. It's like, are they in the witness protection program? Like, why? So my
So,
tip is like, just please, vendors, pull out your contracts and double check is your info on it. Go ahead, Lorna. Sorry.
So for me, it's interesting how we all do things, but we get the
Yeah.
job done.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when I have a client, I tell them if I wasn't a part of the booking process with that vendor to send an introduction email with me CCing the couple as well as the vendor and say, this is my planner. She's going to be contacting you. I give you permission to talk, her permission to
Yes.
talk on my behalf.
Yep.
However, when I'm dealing with a new vendor and I'm trying to potentially refer them, I
Hmm.
go on said videographer, said photographer, baker's website, and it's nothing on their website, but it possibly, well, not really email address, a contact
The
us
cons.
form.
Yep.
And with the contact us form, I'm not a planner. I'm not trying to reach you for that. I mean, I'm not a
A
bride.
bride.
I'm not trying to
Yeah.
reach you for that reason. I'm trying to reach you for another reason, and I don't have your contact information. So that's when
Yeah.
it becomes really frustrating for me because I'm trying to give you business possibly, and I
Yeah.
can't even find your contact information.
Exactly. Yeah. I do that too. The introduction letter. That's what I do when I get a new client. And as we send it out and say, hey, we're going to be working together. If you need me, give me a call. But usually, if it's like a day of client wedding management, then I'll reach out about 60 days before. But I do give that letter ahead of time so they know that there's a planner on board. Because sometimes the client doesn't even tell them that there's a planner or a coordinator on board. And then they're like shocked that,
Who are you?
yeah, who the heck are we? And that's a whole nother issue that I've had to deal with. So that's kind of how the vendor letter was born. I do remember that specific wedding, and it was that vendor was not very nice to me. It was crazy,
Mhm.
but yeah. Do you have any comments on that, Adele? Anything else you want to add?
I guess I would just add that yes, that has happened to me. I will agree with Lorna.
Mm,
Um, where I've went to a website and it took you to, your their contact page and you're not in a position to fill that out. I have filled that out,
yeah,
however,
I have too.
and let them know who I
Yeah.
was. But I
Yeah.
have found to get around that, I've went to their social media pages instead and actually got the
Yes.
contact I was looking for.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
DMing kind of helps too. I mean, some
Yeah.
some vendors are really good on the social media, I think, on the DMing, but then there's some that aren't really that active. And you can tell by looking on their page if they're really good with it. So
Hmm.
so we do, some of the vendors are you guys are really good. So we've got some good things to say and maybe not, as good things to say. But we're
Yeah.
coming from a place of love today, everybody. We do love you, but there are some things that we could use some help on. But we do have some other topics that we're going to move along on. We just probably, this episode, we just feel like you might not realize some of the things that you're doing that may be causing us a little bit of added stress. And if we all could work together better, and you could realize like there's just things that you're putting on us that really aren't our, I don't want to say, oh, it's not my job, but there are certain things that really aren't in the scope of the services that we're even offering our client. And then you're expecting us to do it. We're not a catch-all. We have a contract with our bride or groom or couple, and you're just like, oh, no, the planner will do it. No, the planner won't because we're there for a certain amount of hours, just like you are, and you're expecting us to do it. So we're going to kind of get into it, you guys. So just stay tuned. So basically, a lot of that is assumptions. Okay, so that's the next thing we're going to talk about. And this is another weed. Get it? Wedding Weeds podcast that we need to pull. Okay, so for example, we're not going to return the rentals, meaning your cake stands, your decor. We're not going to pack up the desserts at the end of the night or food. You may have other planners, coordinators that have done this before in the past, and that's great. They might be new to the industry. They might be they might not know the laws. There are certifications you actually have to have in the industry to touch food, okay? Safe serve food certificates. I'm not certified in that. Are any of you ladies certified in that? I mean, that's a server role.
No.
If you're a wait staff.
No.
Yeah, and we shouldn't have to be. I don't want to touch food. I really don't.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's a lot of brides and grooms and couples. They're like, "Oh, you're not going to pack up all the cupcakes at the end?" No, sorry, we just aren't going to do it. I can see if the kitchen staff will do it, and I'll be more than happy to coordinate that activity, but we're not going to be touching all that, okay?
Mhm.
Here's another huge one, okay? And I've had this many times kind of thrown at me. I know you ladies have too, and we're going to talk to the listeners about some stories, some real stories that have happened. Breakdown at the end of the night about of these lavish centerpieces and glassware that these florists are bringing. These are $200-300 centerpieces, and glass is expensive. And they'll leave it at the wedding, and they'll tell the bride, "Oh, well, your planner's gonna pack it all up at the end of the night, and they'll just bring it across town on Monday and give it all back." Wait, what? What are you talking about? But yeah, they're charging a $300-400 fee for them to come back, but yet they're throwing it on us. Now they don't know if I have a babysitter my contract ends at 10 o'clock, but yet that would take me another 2 hours to tear all that down. And then I got to pay my assistant to help me. Like, it's ridiculous. Have you ladies had this issue?
Yes.
I have. Oh, you have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
let's hear.
Actually just recently.
yeah. I know we talked about that one wedding. I mean, we're not going to say
Yeah, it was
or what.
and I knew ahead. I actually knew ahead of time, before going into the event, when I got the contract from the vendor, confirming services and the items that they were bringing in. Basically a description of what was going on each table, what you were doing, this, that, whatever. And in one of the notes in an email, she had said, agreed with couple not coming back late night. We're leaving our boxes is all it stated. So I immediately reached back out and said, could you please, confirm a little bit more by what you mean by that, leaving your boxes like you discussed. So I went forward, reached out to the couple, let them know the email I received from this florist, and charged them an additional teardown fee if she wanted me to do it.
Good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that
So,
probably was the fee that they could have just paid that florist to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's
Exactly.
really brave of the florist. It's no way in the world, if I was a florist, I would trust someone
Right.
else to handle my precious
Yeah.
cargo. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's almost saying, hey,
Yeah.
vendor, help get my couple down the aisle. No
Yeah.
way.
Right.
I'm not going
Yeah.
to trust someone else to do that job because that's my job. And
Yeah.
it's a reflection of what I do. And if they need those items for the next wedding and they're cracked, and then who's liable if
Right.
something happens?
Yeah.
I would be super worried about that.
Yeah. It has to be
Yeah.
packed up a certain way. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
that actually, I completely agree with that, Lorna, because when I walked into that situation, the first question I had to the couple was, this was a very reputable florist. These were beautiful glass, tall arrangements. They were heavy.
Oh, see.
And I had said, my first question, comment or concern, I guess you would call it, was you're just leaving your boxes. Like, you don't know who's handling your merchandise. Like, this is your inventory. Who's liable? Even if she left it to the venue staff, if somebody drops one of these and it shatters, are you billing the client? Are you billing, it really was a very strange situation to be put in. And I had to discuss it with the couple and just say, look, we will do this for you, but this is what's going to be the fee, because we will now take that liability. Like, I might have something in my inventory where I could replace it, where the bride does not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
And
it's
then those are
crazy.
heavy. I'm
Mhm.
not even equipped. I
Yeah.
don't know how to lift some of those heavy arrangements off the table without making them tip over and
Yeah.
Yeah.
fall. And I would be so nervous. Yeah.
Yeah. I can tell you that the outcome was we assisted, and the venue staff actually did a lot of the labor.
Wow. And that's nice
Yeah.
because a lot of
Okay.
venues will be like, no, we're
It
not touching
is.
it either.
Mhm.
You know, there's
Mhm.
liability in that. And really, that's not their responsibility either. It's the florist. It's like, why are they putting it on other people? Because they don't want to come back at the 12 midnight, 1 a.m. Like, then why are they charging $400, you know? Yeah.
Right?
And the other thing is like, setup of extra tables, moving chairs, like I remember this one incident. It was horrible. It was like a 90-degree outdoor wedding, where I gave specific directions of where the rental company was supposed to drop off the chairs for the ceremony. And they dropped them off on one side of the property. They were supposed to be over on this side of the property. There was nobody else to move them. Now, in that situation, I had to move them with some interns. Thank God for those interns, okay? Um, because there was no one else to help. And I couldn't ask the groomsmen because they're all in pictures. So there was nobody. So I did make it happen, but I will never do that again. But yeah, they just didn't listen. Like, and that's like we go the extra mile. Like we give you like a floor plan. We say X marks the spot. It needs to be here. And then they just like don't listen to nothing. Like I know Lorna and we've discussed stuff where this is our biggest pet peeve too, where we'll send over a timeline and then the vendor calls a week of, well, what time do I need to be there? Or what's the address to the venue? And we're like, did
Mhm.
you not read what we've worked on for, this is like the Bible of the day.
Hours. It is the Bible of the day. That's what I say too.
Like, just read
Mhm.
it, please.
All my hard
Yeah.
work is in vain.
I know,
Yeah.
yeah. Hey friends, have you ever heard about a Built Bar? Well, I'm about to tell you about the Built Bar. It is a fabulous chocolate treat, and it's actually good for you. These protein bars taste like a candy bar, and they will knock your socks off. If you know me personally, I'm out on social media always talking about the Built Bar. They are the best thing that I have ever discovered. And I discovered them one time on a trip to Arizona. And my friend handed me this Built Bar, and I had never heard of them. So I tried the coconut puff, and oh my God, it's amazing. These Built Bars are low in sugar. I'm talking only about 7 grams, low in calories, about 140 calories a bar, high in protein, which is what you want if you're working out, you're trying to lose weight for, a wedding maybe, any special event, or just to stay in shape, right? Because we all could use a little bit of weight loss in our life, trying to fit into those pants. 15 to 17 grams of protein. The flavors are amazing. Cookies and cream, cookie dough. We've got brownie batter, mint chip. Aren't you salivating? Yes, you are. Chocolate milkshake. Hello. Everybody's on the salted caramel train. They've got churro, mint puff. I mean, the list just goes on and on. But also, these have collagen in them, which is good for skin when you're getting a little bit older. But you guys got to check these out. I do have a special discount code you're going to be putting in at the checkout. YTB, of course, for You're the Bride. Built, BUILT. It's all together. YTB Built. And you'll get 10% off your purchase. I'll go ahead and put this in the show notes, but I really hope that you'll try these because once you do, you will be hooked just like me. Gotta try it. Gotta love it. They're amazing. Handling money for vendors. Have you ever had to do that? Like they'll come up and they'll give you like an envelope full of cash. Not even like the tipping at the end of the night, but just like, oh, can you go pay the DJ or make change? Like we
Mhm.
shouldn't really, we're not the banker. Like why are we doing that, you know?
Yeah, I've only handled handing out the tips, but it was a conversation beforehand. I've
Yeah.
never had that situation where I had to go pay
Mm.
somebody's. I actually have in my contracts, I'm not responsible for any vendor payments. So
Right. And that's
yeah.
smart. Yeah, we got
Yeah.
to have all these extra clauses. Oh man. Uh,
Hmm.
oh, I know this is a big one too with wedding day bouquets. A lot of times the bride will think, okay, well, we're hired to be the planner, the coordinator. They'll be like, oh, well, can you just stop on the way and grab all the wedding bouquets? It's like, no, we have other things we have to do. And then like her florist might be way over here on this side of town, but yet the venue. No, who's paying us to go do all that? Like they just have all these expectations, and a lot of times the florist will say, "Well, aren't you just going to pick them up? Isn't that part of your service?" So the florist doesn't even understand that that's not included in our service. They just are assuming that we're going to do that because we're their coordinator. No, that's not. Again, that's a bad assumption, florists. Don't assume that that's part of our role. That's why you have delivery drop-off people, and you're charging $100 to bring it to the venue. So, you know,
Exactly.
Mhm.
That's the first thing I mentioned too. Now I've learned
Mhm.
throughout the years when we meet with a florist, hey, the wedding is on this day. Ceremony starts at this time, set up, and you can get into the venue at this time. They're doing their photos at this time. I immediately throw it out there to
Yeah.
let them know, and their photos will be taken at this hotel. So they know, like, I'm not doing it. So my point is invoice them for everything that I'm mentioning, even if it's a
Right.
2 a.m. Breakdown. Okay, now that I've given you all these tools and details, so you can invoice them accordingly, so you can make sure the job is done. But that is not
Mhm.
my task because you may need the florals at the hotel. However, with this specific client, I'm not going to the hotel. I'm going to the venue to worry about setup and all of those things. So me going to get the flowers for you is not helping if you need them at the hotel. So they just assume, and it can be very frustrating. And I know a lot of vendors think planners are a headache at times, and I don't think that's our intention, but I don't think they look at the big picture. We're not necessarily catch-alls. We're actually planning and we're actually doing work and implementing
Mhm.
coordination the day of. So we do have a different job that we have to do and have to make sure is implemented.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
They also, I've had people ask us to store items too after the wedding. They're like, well, because they've had a few drinks. They're like, well, can you just take all this and I'll come get it at your house on Monday? No, like, where am I gonna
Oh,
put it all? Because what if like I load up my vehicle and then let's say something happens on the way home and I get in a car accident or somebody vandalizes my car and then they've got all
right.
the gifts or whatever. Like, no, I don't want to be responsible for all that. It's just crazy. Oh
Yeah, I
man,
no longer accept the day of items for
me
setup
either.
and take them the day before. If they're at your venue the day before, I'll go
Yep.
through them during rehearsal, what have you. But I no longer take them because I know someone that got into an accident, and that's out of their control.
Yeah.
But the day of the wedding, it's like, what do you tell the client that their
Yep.
crystal glasses that was their
Oh,
grandmother's
right.
is no longer there? You just feel horrible, and I just don't want to deal with that.
Mhm.
Exactly. Yeah. Another one is, there's a lot of venues we got a lot of great venues downtown Detroit, older buildings, where you do have to bring, pretty much everything in down to the salt and pepper shakers. I know, what buildings I'm talking about. And, you have to have a good catering staff there. Um, and some brides, maybe the DIY brides, and they want to do it a little bit cheaper, and they might not want to hire enough staff. So they're thinking that we can pitch in and scrape the plates and bust the tables and empty the trash. No, we're not doing that either, brides. We're just not. And the vendors, we don't want you to assume that we're going to be doing all that because
Mhm.
that's not our task either. I mean, back in the day, I would, go around and help tidy up, but, really I'm doing it because I'm trying to be kind and I don't like a mess, but, that's really not what we're there for. We're there for logistics, making sure it's seamless, making sure everything gets handled when it's supposed to, checking the list off. We have enough other responsibilities to do that. We're really not supposed to be in the back scraping the dishes off. That's why there's a
Mhm.
wait staff there. And usually those are younger college kids. I've done all that in my, younger days. But let's see. Oh, here's another one that I've been asked to do. When you have a DIY bride that has, you know, maybe not the biggest budget, they'll be like, oh, well, I'm just gonna bring what do you call it? A little pod, not the podcast, the where they plug in and then they don't want to hire a DJ. They're like, well, you're going to be there. Can you just be our MC and announce everybody? No, I'm not your AV person. I don't really know much about technical stuff that much. I mean, I can probably try to figure it out. Lorna's good with tech stuff, but I know you're going to probably say, no, I'm not announcing people. I'm not an MC. Like, I mean, maybe I am right now, but but you know what I mean? They have so many expectations. I'm just not doing it. Or a slideshow. It's like, oh, it's really easy. You just push the button. But then that on the day of when it does that laptop don't work and I'm trying to push the button, I
Exactly.
look like the idiot at your wedding because a slideshow is not working. Forget it. Not doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they have a playlist or a projector, the
Yeah.
first thing when I'm going through the, okay, now who's going to bring it? And who will
Yes.
be setting it up, because that's
Right.
something that I can't commit to do. And they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you can't?" No, I'm sorry, I can't. Because I also have other things to do. I may be dealing with the couple, getting them prepared for an introduction while they're
Hmm.
playing that projector. So I can't be in two places at one time. And
Yeah.
on top of that, what if something crashes? They want to blame me, then that means I'm responsible, possibly, for it crashing or breaking. I just
Yeah.
know I've been there, done that. Don't want to do it
Mhm.
again.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
I know, Adele, you had a wedding recently and you had some issues with some linens that you want to maybe talk about and some assumptions that some vendors made. Remember?
Yeah, actually on the
Yeah.
spot, the day of, and the venue was a little over an hour away, so I was kind of stuck there. I'm not at a nearby venue where I could get in my car and, I could call somebody, staff to like come help me out.
Hmm.
I'm obviously I was in a position where I was at a venue where it was a little further away, where I was staying the night. I was not coming back.
Right.
And on day of, my vendor had made an agreement with the banquet manager that they were not returning until the next day. So wedding was on Saturday and they were coming Sunday morning to get their chairs, their linens, their napkins, and their chargers. So they all came from the same
Right.
vendor, sorry.
Yeah.
And this was an agreement that they had made with the banquet manager, unbeknownst to me. I found out the day of. In all of my agreements, I have late night fees, I have travel fees, all in
Right.
these invoices I'm receiving from them. Um, for them to be back there that Saturday night. Um, I was on board that Saturday, with a good team to handle everything, not a team and staff with me to handle something like that.
Hmm.
So I was put in a position where, okay, chairs needed to be moved from a ceremony spot down a hallway to a banquet room because something else was going on in the ceremony space afterwards.
Wow.
Linens needed to be pulled, chargers needed to be stacked, chairs needed to be moved because a divider wall was going to come up in the reception space at the end of the night because one side of that room was getting turned into something for the next morning. So, granted, a lot of things were going on where things needed to be moved in places that I didn't account for. Um, it put me in a position where, I was upset. I didn't really just kind of looked at the banquet manager and let him know straight up, I don't have the staff for what you're asking me to do and why it got thrown on the planner.
Right.
We did handle it as well as we could.
Yeah.
We did move the chairs from the ceremony space over to a wall in that area so that they were out of the way.
Hmm.
And then did move, move some chargers and things like that in the reception space. But as far as like the whole overhaul, we had agreed with the banquet manager, you guys were going to need to get staff from the kitchen because this wasn't agreed to with us, and I didn't really know who to blame. I was put in a position where the agreement with my vendor and I was they were coming back. The agreement on day of was, oh, by the
Changed.
way, we made a different agreement with the banquet manager, just letting you know. I
Wow.
was put in a position where I really didn't know where I was actually questioning, did that fall on me? Am I responsible for this? Is the venue expecting me to take this, I
Hmm.
guess backlash or um but we, like I said, we ended up helping where we could, and in other places we just were
Right.
honest and said we don't have the staff to do it.
I
Okay.
definitely would have assumed that that's on the venue because they said okay to that vendor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that would have been their responsibility to do it because physically, that's in my contract and agreement about moving furniture and
Yeah.
everything. I just can't do it.
Right.
So
Exactly.
they definitely should have thought about that before they agreed to that vendor saying,
Hmm.
okay, on coming back the next day. Wow, I'm really surprised at that.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
wow.
What had caught me off guard is the banquet manager, when he let me know, one of the statements he said was, well, that's okay, but the ceremony chairs need to be moved immediately, which
Ah,
was never agreed in any of the meetings with venue coordinators all the way up to the day that anything was going on in that room afterwards. We found out on the day of that, yes, something was going on in that room the morning of, but not immediately after. So even moving those chairs from, ceremony setup over to a wall was a lot on us, and it just
yeah,
got
that's a
thrown on us.
lot.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Again, trying to make us a catch-all. It's ridiculous.
Yep, exactly.
Hey, so you're getting married and you're thinking, maybe I should get a prenup. Well, that's where Hello Prenup comes in. It's the all in one platform that gives you the highest quality prenup in the most affordable way. I will provide a link to the website in the show notes, so check it out. And Lorna, I know you and I talked about something to do with some napkins at a venue. Wanted you to assume that you would fold or something on the day of when we have limited time. Like, what? Talk
Hmm.
about that story.
Very limited time. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I had a very popular known venue. My client did not want to pay the napkin folding fee because they wanted their napkin done a very specific way. I won't talk about the way because it'll be very obvious. But it was different. It was very specific the way that they wanted it folded.
Yeah.
And the venue was like, oh, that's very cute. That's very nice. And it'll be this fee in order to have it done.
Mm,
Also, we must receive your napkins the week before so we can
mm,
have plenty of time to do it. That's another thing. You have to make sure
yeah.
that that works out with the rental company.
Right.
So she was like, okay, well, we weren't expecting to pay that fee to get them done. And she was like, well, you could have your planner do it. So I saw that email and I was so glad I was on that email thread. And I actually,
Uh,
before I responded to the email, I called the venue coordinator and I was like, please don't do that because it makes me look bad when I tell my client I
yeah.
can't and I'm not going to do that. But that is not my job. That is something I understand that it's not your job without being paid for it, but I'm not even volunteering that as my job, even if they want to pay me for it, because I don't have the time the day of the wedding to
Hmm.
actually fold napkins in this specific way. I cannot do it. So please, if you want to have a conversation with me, hey, Lorna, do you think this is something that we can do? So, I mean, that you can do. So then I can suggest your
Yeah.
services to the client. You may charge less than what we're charging, or you may not need it a week before. Then we have a private conversation. And they were just like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, well, I just knew we couldn't do it. So I just thought maybe you all may have enough staff. No, they paid for myself and an assistant and
Right.
that is not a part of my description. So it can get very annoying at times, but I have to make sure I bring it in and because you want to have great relationships with the vendors, but
Right.
it's definitely very frustrating. But yeah,
Hmm.
they whatever they don't want to do, they'll just say, "Well, have your planner do it."
Yeah. So how did that work out then? Did they end up doing it or who did it? Or she just not? Did she just have a regular hanging flat fold napkin or what did we do?
They her and her bridesmaids did it.
Oh, they did. Oh,
Hmm. They got them
interesting.
early, and yeah, because of the fee, it was like going to be about $5 a napkin to do it.
Wow.
What
I
they
would
were
have done it
doing.
for a
Hmm.
dollar 12. I think that's what my fee is. I made some side
Yeah,
cash on that. All right.
right.
Interesting.
Look, I'll
Okay.
keep you in mind next time.
Yeah, exactly. Because one time I did to figure
Done it
out my
before
price.
for a fee. Hmm.
Yeah, I figured it out. For like 200 napkins, it took me almost like 3 hours or something. It's not, an
Yeah,
easy
and this
task.
had a ribbon all attached to it.
Yeah.
It was not a typical
Yeah, that
regular
would take
fold. It
even
was
longer. Right. And they just think, oh yeah,
Yeah.
we're just gonna whip it up. I mean, we barely have 2 hours in the ballroom as it is to do
Barely.
everything else.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
boy. Well, shame on her, and hopefully she'll think next time that you better talk to these planners and, find out what's included in their services. But there are some planners that do that on the day of, and I'm like, how are they doing that? Like they're probably bringing in more people. I don't know. I'm not doing it.
Yeah. And I
It's
think planners that offer decor, I think sometimes, they do, but like you said, it's still more staff to typically that's
mm.
involved.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
has to be. Okay. Let's see. So moving along, now we're going to talk about just common courtesy and respect among fellow vendors. So on the wedding day, what I normally do is when I get on staff is, I'll see the DJ setting up video. I always go and introduce myself and just let them know who I am because, I've emailed them or talked to them on the phone and done my vendor confirmation calls and all that. So I just feel that we're all equal. We're all part of the team. Nobody's better than the other. I may be running the team as like kind of like maybe the glue or whatever, just making sure everybody, that's what we're hired for, to make sure the day is all coming together. And that's my role. But
Hmm.
we all have a special role. I mean, I'm not the video person and I'm not the cake person. Like if something happens to that cake, I don't really know how to fix a cake. I can go to Kroger and get another one, but that's about it. So we're all equally important, okay? So the point of this segment is to talk about a few things. So there are some vendors in the industry I have noticed in my time, and I don't know how you ladies feel, but they're not as friendly and warm and fuzzy. They're kind of standoffish, and it's like check your personality, like your grumpiness at the door, leave it at home. We're at a wedding, like be friendly to your people, and that's how you may drum up some more business. Like, hey, you're cool. Like, let's work together. Have you ran into any stuffy people? I don't get it. Anybody that's been grouchy? That you could have like, oh, I wish he was not here. If we had a better videographer, or better, you know,
I
DJ.
definitely have, but it also it goes in my mental storage not to refer them.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm
If you
saying.
make my life harder and it's
Yes.
difficult day of, I am
Right.
now, if my client hires you, I can't control it and I
Right.
deal with it.
We go
But
with the
I
flow.
will never refer and recommend you
Yep.
because I'm all about teamwork that day,
Yes.
jumping in, diving in, because I've had
Yes.
major emergencies. And if it wasn't for a great vendor team, it wouldn't have
Mm-hmm.
happened. I mean,
Mhm.
so that's really, really important, working together and
Yeah.
coming up with problem solving solutions. But if you don't want to
Yeah.
talk to the vendor team, and
Yeah.
that makes it really difficult for us because we're communicating with all the vendors that day. The DJ and the photographer may not ever talk that whole day, but we have to talk to all of them. And
Right.
Mhm.
if you make my job harder, I'm not going
Yes.
to refer you for sure.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Yeah.
overall, I would say really everybody's amazing in the industry, but there's
Mhm.
probably about 5 to 10% weeds that I need to pull out that I'm like
Mhm.
thinking to myself, what is wrong with this person? Why are they just so
Hmm.
crabby? We're all here for an amazing day to give our mutual client the best day, and they're over there just crabbing about something. And I'm like, wow, I don't know. It's just frustrating. And then, like,
I'm
for
glad it
example,
doesn't happen as
yeah,
often that often. I'm
right.
sorry, because it would make
Yeah.
me. I would not like my job, and I probably wouldn't be in the
Yeah.
industry as long if it was more. So it is
Mm-hmm.
more positive than negative.
It
I
is,
will say
for
that. So I
sure.
agree.
Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely. Yeah, because I didn't want this episode to be all about all the negative, because it's just a learning thing. I want vendors to look at, what we go through in a different, I guess, a different light, because they're probably not aware. So that's why we're trying to just bring it out to them, so they might realize some of the things that we go through. And I'm sure they go through things with us. So maybe we'll have a vendor on another time and they can tell us the things they don't like about planners, because I've had some
I've heard some stories.
yeah, I've known Lorna a long time, and we get a bad rap. They're like, "Oh, you wedding planners are Hitlers." They think we're so bossy. It's like, well, it's all in the approach. I don't feel like I'm a bossy
Mhm.
planner. I get it done. But
Mhm.
I've had some. photographers in my many years where at dinner, this is what I usually do is I'll be chit-chatting with them, and I have a blog, and I'll always say, it's been great working with you. I'll explain to them I've got a blog. I always credit the vendors. Could I maybe get you, the images of the day? And they're like, oh yeah, that's no problem. But then there's been some weeds that will be like, well, the only way I'll give you my photos, Tracy, is, if you'll add me to your preferred vendor list. And I'm just like, wait, what? You have to be on my list to get these photos. That is insane. No. So I will definitely not be calling those people. Got a lighting issue. So things like that. That doesn't happen often, but it has for real happened. So then I'll go to the bride and I'll wait, and then I'll get the pictures from the bride and won't even talk to the photographer and get them. I'm like, that's just rude. Like, why do they got to act like that? Like, that's the kind of person I don't want to work with. So they're just setting themselves up for failure and no future business, as far as I'm concerned. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
I've never had that happen. I'm surprised they said something like that to you.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, for real, it has happened. And then here, I know this one has happened probably. This last one under this topic is basically vendor tagging, talking about Instagram, because we all work hard as planners, and sometimes we design the whole wedding from start to finish, and we want to be credited for our work. Okay, we're going and picking out linens and flowers and coming up with these great concepts, and the photographer is photographing these beautiful weddings. Great. And then they put the images out. They tag the florist, the video, the cake person. They don't tag the planner or designer. Wait, what? You wouldn't have these pictures if it wasn't for us and our designs. So please, vendors, think about tagging the wedding planner, the coordinator. I just don't understand. Is it an innocent mistake? Maybe. I don't know. Because that happened to me about 2 years ago. I was the planner designer for this whole wedding and this particular photographer. And I think in that case it was an innocent mistake, but it's like how could it be when I spoon fed you the whole list of vendors and my name was on it, but I put mine on the bottom because I didn't want to be the first person on the list, to be considerate to all my other vendors. And they didn't even include me. I was like, that's weird. I don't know. Has that happened to you ladies? Where they forget
I
you?
just saw a wonderful wedding like just some hours ago on social, and I know the planner.
Uh-huh.
And I was just looking, trying to figure out some other things. And I was like, oh, let me see. And I was like, oh, the planner isn't tagged. I just thought it was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It just rubs us the wrong way because once
Yeah.
again, half of our job, 50% of our job is referrals.
Right.
And how simple is it just to give us a little tag? Because we definitely, I'm speaking for myself, I definitely make sure I tag. If I'm posting a
Yeah.
video, that videographer's video, I'm definitely tagging you. And I do understand that it's their work, the
Yep.
photographer's work. I do understand they own rights to it. But I
Mm-hmm.
just think it's also nice to tag us because it's a
Yeah.
great thing when I see that I'm being tagged and you appreciate the job that I've done and the work that and the client that I've given you. I'm going to remember that when it's time for me to refer you. I'm going to say, oh, this person never tags me. So you're
Yep.
going to the bottom of the list.
Exactly. Have you had those
Yeah.
issues, Adele, at all about tagging?
Here and there where I've
Yeah.
just, DM'd them and said, "Hey, loving the photos. Would you mind tagging me on that so that, I could share too?" So
Right.
I've never really had uh any,
Yeah.
I don't think it was deliberate.
Right. It may
Um,
not be. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, of course it's happened quite a few times where, and I've just reached out and yeah, but
Yeah.
then there's some weddings I have to admit that were a little bit smaller. It was a little more DIY where
Mm-hmm.
you're cautious about what you put on your social media,
Oh,
um,
yeah.
that I may have been glad that they didn't tag me.
Yeah, I know Lorna feels that
Hmm.
way on some of her weddings. Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely. So for
Yep.
me personally, if it's a wedding that's not the ideal look that our brand is, let me just say that. I
Yep.
Yeah.
don't necessarily send all the vendor. So what I do is once I send the timeline and all the other logistics for the vendors, I will also give them all the vendors. If I don't feel it's my ideal look, I
Mm-hmm.
don't share that information. So I make it a little bit more challenging for all the vendors to get the information for tagging. And if they do tag me, You know, I can remove a tag too.
There you go.
Okay.
And I can remove a tag and not accept the collaboration. So
Mhm.
it's still ways around it, but
That's true.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's really important for me and my business partner. We're going for
Yeah.
a certain look on our socials. So
Mhm.
everyone doesn't make the socials. It's just
Nope.
what it is. Nothing
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
against it, it may not be there. It could be a beautiful wedding, not saying that it's just not our look and our style and
Yeah.
our brand. That's all.
Yeah. I think I've chose there, how do I say some weddings make a story, but they don't make a reel.
Yeah,
Ah,
definitely. I'll do a story quicker.
yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. High five to that, Adele.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah. Okay, ladies, good. All right. So our next little segment is we're going to discuss the importance of vendors being prepared in their responsibilities because there have been some vendors that have shown up to the wedding day and they're just not prepared at all. And it's mind blowing to me. So let me tell you a little story. I did a wedding once, and we're busy as planners on the day of. We have a lot of ish to do. Okay, we're running in all different directions. As you know, a photographer, video. You've kind of got your job to do, but I feel like we're going all over the place trying to make sure managing all these details, right? So I'm at the venue, and the photographer is like, they wanted a tour of this huge venue. And they didn't do their homework ahead of time to figure out where the first look was going to be and where, this room was going to be for this. And I'm just like, they wanted me to like stop and drop everything I'm doing to go show them around. I was like, I was just flabbergasted. I was like, no,
Mhm.
I don't have time for that. So please do your homework. Nowadays, like a lot of these venues have like those virtual tours. I mean, if you can't get in the car and drive out there a couple weeks before the wedding, then at least try that. Like, don't rely on me to go do all that. I'm busy on the day. It's just shocked. Like, has anybody had that experience? Is that
Um, not an experience like that, but something very similar
okay?
that actually just recently happened in October.
Oh,
Um, I had photographers coming on site that, you know, had never worked this venue before, and it wasn't an issue of a first look. It was, where's the bridal suite?
yeah, same thing.
Where's the
Yeah,
presidential suite?
yep,
Oh, the ceremony's happening in this room. Oh, so what are we doing in that room? Oh, do you know what time we can get in
yes,
here? Do you know, well, where's that going to be? And it's like, it was all
yep,
thrown on me. I'm happy to answer those questions for you, but in the middle of what we're doing on day of, and
right,
maybe, at this point, I was setting up tables because
yeah,
I was in a DIY position, but I also had a
mm-hmm.
florist. So working as a team, we're trying to get all of this knocked out. It was a very large wedding. We had several tables, and I'm getting stopped by a photographer. Do you know where
Right,
this is? Do you know where that is? Do you know where this room is? Do you know where? And I remember complaining to the venue people,
yeah,
staff, behind a corner, because I was very good friends with them. Like, sorry, I am not. Why did you not come to this venue and do a walkthrough and know
right,
your logistics beforehand when you knew you were coming into this wedding?
yep,
You're stopping me and pulling me away from my work. And yeah, no. So that's very similar. Didn't appreciate it. It
yeah.
was like,
That's
know
I'm
what you're
talking about.
walking into.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's happened a few times where they're not pre-planning ahead and they really need to because
Right, right.
we're busy. Yeah. Hey, what is better than a wonderful scented candle when you get home from work and you light it and your room smells amazing? Well, you've got to check out these new scented candles. They're deluxe by Arangus. I have a special discount code for you, 15% off at the checkout when you use the code You're the Bride. That's YOURE, the bride all together. It doesn't matter caps or no caps. They're amazing. They're out of New York. You got to get it now. Okay, yeah. So Lorna, so you had a DJ story, I think, to share?
Yes, I had a DJ that so usually I contact the vendors and I find out what time their arrival is. I put
Right,
all that on the timeline, like we mentioned, that it's our Bible for the day.
right.
And this specific DJ never worked with before. more of a what we call a friender vendor,
Yes.
and not a wedding DJ. There's a difference in a DJ and a wedding DJ. Wedding DJs are prepared to stop, start, introduce. They have to be aware of formalities, aware of dinner time, different ups and downs for the actual day. This particular vendor, when I called to find out their arrival, they told me 30 minutes before the wedding started, and I said, "Oh no, no, no,
Wow.
no,
Yes.
that's not acceptable because guests should be arriving 30 minutes before the ceremony starts." So
Right.
then I was like, can we do 2 hours before? And this DJ said no. Just
Wow.
plain period, like no. And I was like,
Mm.
okay. So I'm like, okay, let's try to figure
Like,
this out.
this is going to be a great
Um,
wedding.
yeah. So he guaranteed 40 minutes before because he said it only takes him 10 minutes to set up, which is not true because by
Wow.
the time you load and unload, that's 10 minutes in itself. Not to mention taping down wires, doing
Yes.
sound check. Speaking of sound check, this particular, when I did meet this DJ, very nice DJ, just not a wedding DJ. He mentioned also that he does not do announcements. He does not do introduction. He just plays music. And I understand some
Mm.
DJs are shy, and that's fine. But most wedding DJs will bring a hype man, hype woman with them,
Yeah.
or a MC, whatever you want to
Hmm.
call it, to do that. If they're shy and they want to just stay behind the turntable, that's fine. Then bring that person, but don't expect me to do it. But if it's the
Yep.
day of and I find out that you don't, then it's like I'm forced to I'm forced to do those things that I really don't want to do because I want to just do my job and stay in my lane.
Yep.
But now you're forcing me to come over to your lane. So that was one
Hmm.
thing. On top of, he asked me to do a sound check. I was
Oh my
I was
gosh.
floored. It was like, can you walk around and tell me if you can hear the sound? And I was like, well, I'm not a professional. I don't know how the sound should be, how loud it should be. Well, just tell me if you can hear. I can hear. I don't know if it should be louder or
Wow.
lower. It may be good if you just push, play the music and then you walk over and then adjust the sound and walk back. I was trying to
Right.
be
Yeah.
um nice, but I was also trying to be a little snarky with it as well because I was getting ready to start letting guests in. So I was pretty annoyed at that sound check thing. So that
Yeah.
was definitely quite interesting.
Mm. Yeah.
Wow. That's insane. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, we're all equally important in creating the seamless day, that's for sure. And we just really want all the vendors to take equal responsibility in their roles, because as planners and coordinators, we definitely, as you are hearing in this episode, we do get the brunt of a lot of unnecessary things. And we just really we hope that this episode will bring you some education, and we want it to stop. Um, but now we're going to move into vendor meals. Okay. So this is an interesting one too. And I know that Adele and Lorna and I have talked about vendor meals. So first of all, if there's any venues that are listening to this episode, we we know that venues are often telling the client, "Oh, you can just have your the wedding planner and the videographer, they can just get like a sandwich, a box lunch, that's no problem." And it's usually like a day old sandwich. And it's like, wait a minute, like, no, you should be having your vendors, your dream team that's helping with the wedding, at least give us the chicken dish. I mean, that's the least expensive option. It doesn't have to be the same meal, in my opinion. I don't know how you ladies feel. I'm not that picky, but I really don't want the sandwich. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? Do you have a?
Um, I I don't mind the sandwich. I actually have done a was at a wedding
Mhm.
with staff. And that was that when you say box lunch, it was at a
Yeah.
golf club, and that's exactly what they received.
Yeah.
Um, like I believe it was from the pro shop. I'm not sure, but I do know it was a boxed lunch though, and it was,
Yeah.
choose your beverage, which was out of the vending machine. But ever since that, because that was quite a few years ago, I don't walk into a wedding without my own food. I have like a full lunch and snacks with me on
Mhm.
site, like at all times.
Just in case, yeah.
I've had to give up my vendor seat at the dinner table because
That's
vendors got
happened to me.
miscounted and somebody else showed up, and I said, you can have my seat. I've got snacks. Don't even worry about me. So I've
Gotcha.
gone without sitting down and eating that meal, but
Mhm.
made sure I was taken care of, you know. Um,
Yeah,
yeah. So it's like one mistake and learned, and I always bring
right.
my own food just in case.
Okay. Well, I carry snacks, protein bars, and things like that.
Yeah, no,
But
I mean, I
yeah,
actually, I make a sandwich. I have
yeah.
water. I
She
have,
likes sandwiches.
yeah, I do like sandwiches. Yeah.
Yeah,
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 like the night before, I'm like, okay, make your sandwich and, and then all your little snacks, that you want in there
yeah,
too, that you might grab. But I
yeah.
definitely have a meal for myself. So I'm
Okay.
not going without like I've done
Right.
before.
Yeah. Well, that's kind because there's a lot of vendors. I've had vendors
Hmm.
that have complained, and then I got to go deal with like the banquet captain because they're complaining, and for example, the bands like they want to eat first, and if
Hmm.
it's not exactly the same as the guest, like they've literally came up to me and they've been like, "I want the filet," and I'm like, "You're a vendor. You're getting the chicken." Like they're
Yeah.
being idiots about it. I'm like, "Are you serious right now?" And then they're trying to, drink the alcohol, and that's a whole nother issue. But what bothers me is the venues are charging uh, the vendor meal price, and they're not bringing us bread or salad. I know we've talked about this. It's like I want my salad. Come on, I know Adele likes salad, and Lorna, you probably
Hmm.
do too. And give me the bread basket because I don't even buy bread at my house, but that's the one time I want like a little hot piece of bread with my
Yeah.
chicken,
Yeah.
and I don't get it. So it's like venue, stop gypping the bride and groom out of the money that they paid to feed their vendor team. Like, why are you doing that? Like, and
Hmm.
I'll go in and out of the kitchen at the end of the night to see, or not to see, but to clean like the toasting flutes off, and I'll see like a whole tray of salad sitting there that they could have gave us, and they're like, "Oh, we're out of it." I'm like, no, you're not, liars. I don't know why they're doing that to us, or they won't bring us cake. Why? When there's a
Yeah.
whole bunch
Yeah.
left. So weird. I don't know.
I found
Right.
out,
Yeah.
I did ask a venue about, because Tracy, you mentioned it about the bread, and they said because they charge less for the vendor meal, so you don't get as many options.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I don't. I think it's interesting, but my
Yeah.
requirement, I do require in my contract a hot meal. It does not have to be
Uh-huh.
the same entree that everyone else is getting, filet mignon,
Right.
all of that, but it is a
Yeah.
hot meal because I've been there for hours. I do also pack a lunch.
Uh-huh.
I pack a lunch because it's times that I'm there for hours and haven't
Hmm.
eaten, and I know it'll still be some hours before I eat, and I can't afford to get sick. I've gotten almost sick before, so that was one and done. Never again. I always have some
Right.
form of snacks or something, but that's just for me personally. I still
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
require a hot vendor
Hot
meal,
meal.
and
Yeah.
I prefer. It's also in my agreement that a hot vendor meal within the dining room of the guests. Um,
That's a good point
Oh.
too. So we can see what's going on because the bride might spill something and I need it out of my emergency kit. That's why I do it.
Well, sometimes
Oh.
I've had brides hop up and start doing something or ready to do something, and I don't know what's happening because
Yeah.
they wanted to get up and start walking around taking pictures and walking around. So if I'm far away, I can't assist
Yep.
them and can't communicate, and I feel uncomfortable because I don't know what's happening,
Yep.
and then I'm not able to relax. So I can be in the back at the table in the corner, just have a vendor
Uh-huh.
table, and I'm perfectly fine with it. So that is one of my other preferences, but definitely a hot meal for sure.
Uh-huh.
If it's some venues have like a side room and it's still set up like a banquet setting, I'm
Yep.
okay. But I had one wedding, I was behind a stage, had to sit on the floor, and that's
Ah,
why I changed my contract because of that. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm you have I
yeah.
mean, I'm human, so
Yeah.
let's be respectable and not
For
just
sure.
throw us the scraps and the lunches from yesterday, so that's when
Hmm.
I get bothered by it.
I agree. Yeah, for years I never even had in my contract about a hot meal because I didn't think I should do that, but then I changed it probably about 15 years into being a planner, because there was a few weddings
Mhm.
where they never even gave us food, and it was weird. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe I should add that in my contract. So now I do have it as a hot meal, and I have it as I don't have it that I must sit in the ballroom, but I do agree for the same reasons. Because even though we're kind of on our break at that point, it's still a working break because I'm watching the bride, and then I'll have bridesmaids come up, or the bride will be texting me, "Can you bring me something out of the emergency kit?" Because I'm on high alert, making sure
Mhm.
everybody's doing okay. So yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else to add to that, ladies, that you can think of?
Mhm. I'm good.
All right. So, what is the wildest thing that somebody has expected you to do that was not your job when you've been working a wedding or planning a wedding? That maybe a mother of the bride called you and was like, "Oh, Lorna, could you do this for my daughter's wedding?" And can you guys think of anything? Because I've got a couple that I could share that might get your mind thinking. I've been asked to cut the cake because they didn't want to pay the cake cutting fee, of $3 a slice. And I'm like, wait, no, no, no. There's a whole art to cutting a cake. It's very messy. I'm not going to
Mhm.
be doing that. I've had another bride, I'm sorry, mother of the bride. This was many moons ago. And I did do it. I won't lie. I did not want to, but I was not really going that way. But she had a little tizzy. She wanted me to take the bride and groom at the end of the night back to the hotel. And she's like, "Well, you were hired to do the day of coordination." So she thought it was the Uber at the end of the night to take them back to their hotel. And I'm like, "I'm going that way, and the hotel's 10 miles the other way from what?" She really got upset. And I was like, I don't even want to deal with this lady. I'm just going to do it. So I literally had them in the back of my car and took them to the hotel. But I'm like, never again. I couldn't believe she expected that was part of my job. But some of these
Yeah.
parents are a little
Wow.
bit
The
crazy.
only thing, I mean, I guess kind of along those lines, where I've had bride and grooms at the end of the night ask me if I was, you know, okay, in the agreement, the items you provided, yes, I am boxing them up, but I had them assume that I was putting them all in my car, and I've had couples, one, say, "Oh, you're taking all that home and I'm picking it up later," but I've also
Right?
had couples just recently um, say, "Oh, you're taking it to the hotel and dropping it off, right? And taking it up to our room." And I was, yeah, where
No.
you're like, "No, I'm not doing that. Like, it's all
Right.
right here on your way
Another
out."
assumption.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So that's about I've never, I mean, please, I thought you were returning the cake stand on Monday.
Right.
No, we never agreed to that.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
nothing very, very strange. Like
Okay. Well, I
that's
hope it doesn't
about,
happen now that we don't want to jinx you.
yeah, yeah.
Lorna, do you have any?
Yeah, nothing outside of what you ladies mentioned about returning a cake stand or rental item.
Hmm.
Cutting the cake, as
Yeah.
Hmm.
well as loading gifts in the car. That is something I
Hmm.
don't do also. So I will gather the items that I set up, put it on the gift table, put it in
Hmm.
one set spot, and I let them know dad, brother, groomsmen, all of them can gather these items and put it in the car. The reason I don't is because of liability also. I don't want to be responsible. Someone to
Right.
say, hey, where was that gift? We saw so and so said they had a gift and I don't see it. Or if
Hmm.
I drop it, I just don't like. I'm an overthinker as a planner. I think we probably all are overthinkers as
Yeah.
Hmm.
planners. So I'm always thinking, what if? So
Hmm.
yeah, but nothing. The Uber thing is definitely one for the books.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I was shocked too that night. Wow. I know. All right. Let's see. So basically, collaboration over competition is always, I feel like, everybody's motto. And that's why I had my two friends on the podcast today, because we can all help each other out. And, sometimes, I might be booked. So I'll, ask these girls if they have that date open, they'll ask me. So we all collaborate and try to help each other out. But at the end of the day, we all have the same goal in mind. We want to give our clients the best day ever. And when we all communicate, collaborate, respect each other's roles, the wedding is going to run like a well-oiled machine or a dream, right? Um, So I think that's really the goal is we just want our clients to be happy because that's what we're in business for. We're passionate about what we do. We love what we do, and we just want to see them, happy. So we need to stop all the assumptions, all the finger pointing, and remember that we're really all part of the same team and to get those couples married and down the aisle. So vendors, I do have a challenge for you today. I want you all to go pull out your contracts and double check and make sure that your phone number and email is on there. We would really appreciate that, okay? And while you're at that, I want you to look at your processes and ask yourself, am I assuming that the planner or the coordinator of the day is going to handle this, or is it really my responsibility, okay? So go ahead and tag You're the Bride on Instagram. That's YOURETHEBRIDE, the bride. So I know you've done your vendor homework, okay? Because I don't want to have to pull any more weeds. But I'm going to cheer you on for being part of the dream team for all three of our companies here. And if you'd like to be a supporter of the Wedding Weeds podcast, go ahead and you can donate to the show, and I will be more than happy to give you a shout out in our next episode. But if you're enjoying the show, we would love you to like, follow, and share. We are available on all platforms. We also have fan mail, and that would be, you can go ahead and send a message. You will find that in our show notes. You can send a message. You can let me know how I'm doing. You can suggest a topic. We do have more topics coming, more episodes. We also are so excited to meet with new engaged couples. If you're thinking about getting engaged and you'd like us to plan a proposal here at You're the Bride, I would love to meet with you for that. And you can fill out our contact form on the website, okay? We look forward to that as well. And that is all for today's episode of the Wedding Weeds podcast. If you're a vendor, I really hope that this episode gave you some insight and perspective. And if you're a planner, I know that you're probably nodding your head and you're probably like, yeah, I do agree with what all of you ladies discussed today, because you probably have all lived through all these challenges, just like Adele and Lorna and I have. So just please remember that clear communication, defined roles, and mutual respect does make for a very smooth wedding day, and that's exactly what all of our couples deserve. So we have shared these stories today, not to vent, but maybe just a little bit, right? And to pull a few weeds so you know who you are. But we want to, shine light on all the vendors and the planners in the industry. We really do love you. We need you. You are part of our vendor team. But when you push those jobs on us, it does create a little bit of chaos, resentment, and confusion to the couple. So let's just all stay in our lanes and communicate and collaborate, because at the end of the day, we all really do want the same thing for our couples, okay? So now please go tag a vendor that needs to hear this episode. Planners, if you've had these little incidents happen, drop a comment. And thank you for joining us on the Wedding Weeds podcast. I would like to thank my guest again today, Lorna from Posh and Prim, and Adele from Everlasting Engagements. If you enjoyed this episode, again, please leave us a review and share it with somebody. And if you're ready to take that next step and let us create your love story at You're the Bride, I would love to help you. This is Tracy Morris signing off for the Wedding Weeds podcast. Bye for now.